Hello and welcome to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Nawreen. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. No debt ceiling agreement, but Biden and McCarthy call White House talks productive. Missouri man accused of deliberately crashing U-Haul truck into security barrier near White House. E. Jean Carroll adds post-verdict Trump remarks to defamation case. TikTok sues US state of Montana over law banning its use. Actor Adam Driver chosen as honorary starter for Indianapolis 500. Russia extends arrest of US journalist Ivan Gershkovich by 3 months, his parents barred from hearing. EU welcomes F-16 jet decision for training Ukraine pilots. Greece heads to new election after Conservatives failed to clinch majority despite landslide win. Geneva airport briefly closed as climate activists protest private jet fare. Russia claims it repelled one of world's most serious cross-border attacks. Court rules against Prince Harry's offer to personally pay for police protection in UK. Pakistan's Imran Khan presses legal fight, gets protection from arrest in multiple terrorism cases. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi cheered by 20,000 fans at Sydney Stadium. 7 people arrested in Spain linked to racial abuse cases against Vinicius Jr. Bills safety Damar Hamlin eases back into practice 5 months since near-death experience. And Jokic leads Denver Nuggets past LeBron's Lakers 113-111 into their first NBA Finals. You were listening to headlines, now news in detail. President Joe Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy both said they had a productive debt ceiling discussion late Monday at the White House, but there was no agreement as negotiators strained to raise the nation's borrowing limit in time to avert a potentially chaotic federal default. It's a crucial moment for the Democratic president and the Republican speaker, just 10 days before a looming deadline to raise the debt limit. As soon as June 1, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said in a letter to Congress, it is highly likely the government will be unable to pay all the nation's bills. Such an unprecedented default would be financially damaging for many Americans and others around the world relying on US stability, sending shockwaves through the global economy. Each side praised the other's seriousness, but basic differences remained. They are at odds over how to trim annual budget deficits. Republicans are determined to cut spending while Biden's team offered to hold spending levels flat. Biden wants to increase some taxes on the wealthiest Americans and some big companies, but McCarthy said early on that that is out of the question. In a brief post-meeting statement, Biden called the session productive but merely added that he, McCarthy, and their lead negotiators will continue to discuss the path forward. Albeit, McCarthy said their teams would work through the night. Biden said all agreed that default is not really on the table. Police have arrested a Missouri man they believe intentionally crashed a U-Haul truck into a security barrier at a park across from the White House. The box truck's driver smashed into the barrier near the north side of Lafayette Square on Monday at around 10 p.m. Secret Service spokesman Anthony Guglielmi said in a statement. He was identified as 19-year-old Sai Vershid Kandula of Chesterfield, a St. Louis suburb. No one was injured in the crash. A witness, Chris Zabozzi, said the driver smashed into the barrier at least twice. Zabozzi, a 25-year-old pilot who lives in Washington, was finishing a run close by Lafayette Square when he heard the loud crash of the U-Haul truck hitting the barrier. He said he took out his phone and captured the moment the truck struck the barrier again before he heard sirens approaching. Officers from the Secret Service and the Metropolitan Police Department searched the truck after the crash. Video posted by WASA TV shows a police officer at the scene picking up and inventorying several pieces of evidence from the truck, including a Nazi flag. Based on a preliminary investigation, investigators believe the driver may have intentionally struck the security barriers at Lafayette Square, Guglielmi said. Authorities offered no additional details about the possible motive. The U.S. Park Police said Kandula was arrested on multiple charges, including threatening to kill, kidnap, or inflict harm on a president, vice president, or member of their family, assault with a dangerous weapon, reckless driving, destruction of federal property, and trespassing. E. Jean Carroll, the columnist who won a $5 million sexual abuse and defamation award against former United States President Donald Trump, is seeking at least $10 million more in a new court filing that seeks to hold him liable for remarks he made after the verdict. An amended lawsuit seeking the $10 million in compensatory damages and more in punitive damages was filed on Monday in Manhattan by Carroll's lawyers, who say remarks by Trump in response to her rape allegations so spoiled her reputation that she lost her longtime job as an Elle magazine advice columnist. In the rewritten lawsuit, they allege that he doubled down on derogatory remarks about Carroll at a cable television appearance a day after the verdict. Trump's defamatory statements post-verdict show the depth of his malice toward Carroll, since it is hard to imagine defamatory conduct that could possibly be more motivated by hatred, ill will, or spite, the lawyers wrote. This conduct supports a very substantial punitive damages award in Carroll's favor, both to punish Trump, to deter him from engaging in further defamation, and to deter others from doing the same. A 9-person jury 2 weeks ago decided that Trump had sexually abused Carroll at an upscale Manhattan department store in early spring 1996. The video app TikTok has launched a lawsuit against the government of Montana in the northwestern United States after the state passed a law on Wednesday, effectively banning the app within its borders. In a complaint filed with the U.S. District Court in Montana on Monday, TikTok promised to fight what it characterized as an illegal effort to restrict its use. We are challenging Montana's unconstitutional TikTok ban to protect our business and the hundreds of thousands of TikTok users in Montana, the social media company said in the court filing. The complaint claims that the ban abridges freedom of speech in violation of the First Amendment, as well as other constitutional protections, while numerous U.S. states and federal agencies have limited or banned access to TikTok on government devices, based on claims that data from the platform could be used by the Chinese government for surveillance. The Montana law goes further and bans the app from the state entirely. Slated to take effect on January 1, the ban would bar TikTok from operating within Montana and prohibit app stores from offering TikTok for download, with violators facing fines. Two-time Academy Award nominee Adam Driver, who will soon be starring as Enzo Ferrari in a biopic of the Italian automobile magnate, will serve as the honorary starter for the 107th running of the Indianapolis 500 on Sunday. Driver perhaps most famously played Kylo Ren in the three most recent Star Wars films, and he was nominated for Academy Awards for his work in Black Landsman and Marriage Story. Driver also has received 4 Primetime Emmy nominations for the comedy drama Girls and his guest appearance on Saturday Night Live in 2020. Adam is going to experience one of the most exhilarating, powerful, and exciting moments in all of sports as he stands atop the flag stand and waves the green flag to officially start the world's greatest race. Indianapolis Motor Speedway President J. Douglas Bowles said in making the announcement Tuesday. Driver grew up in Mishawaka in northern Indiana before serving in the armed forces with the Marines. He returned from duty and enrolled at the University of Indianapolis before auditioning for Juilliard, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree. His other film credits include House of Gucci by Ridley Scott, Steven Soderbergh's Logan Lucky, and Silence by Martin Scorsese. He also appeared on and off Broadway in Look Back in Anger and the revival of Landford Wilson's Burn This. Now it's time for global updates. A Russian court on Tuesday extended the arrest of Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich by 3 months, Russian news agencies reported. Gershkovich, a 31-year-old American citizen, was ordered held until August 30. He had been arrested in March on espionage charges on a reporting trip in Russia. He, his employer, and the US government have denied the charges. Tuesday's pre-trial hearing wasn't announced in advance, and the entire case has been wrapped in secrecy. Russian authorities haven't detailed what, if any, evidence they have gathered to support the espionage charges. Various legal proceedings have been closed to the media. No details immediately emerged about whether Gershkovich or US embassy representatives attended Tuesday's hearing or what was said. TASS said the session was closed because the reporter was accused of possession of secret materials. One Russian news agency, Interfax, quoted a court official as saying Gershkovich's parents, themselves Soviet immigrants living in New Jersey, were visiting Moscow and had been admitted to the court building but not into Tuesday's hearing. Gershkovich is the first US correspondent since the Cold War to be detained in Russia on spying charges. His arrest rattled journalists in the country and drew outrage in the West. The European Union's foreign policy chief said Tuesday that the US green light to allow Ukrainian pilots to get training to fly F-16s has created an inexorable momentum that will inevitably bring the fighter jets to the Ukrainian battlefield. You know, it's always the same thing. We discuss at the beginning everybody is reluctant, said Joseph Borrell, giving the example of the long debate and initial opposition to the dispatch of advanced Leopard battle tanks to Ukraine. And at the end, with the Leopards, with the F-16, at the end, the decision comes to provide this military support because it is absolutely needed. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg confirmed that the training decision was the exact thrust necessary toward making the jets available to Ukraine, announcing clearly that they will start training. This is an important step that partly will enable us to deliver fighter jets at some stage, Stoltenberg said before meeting with EU defense ministers. He said it also proved that the West wouldn't stand down in the face of Russia, saying such a decision is sending a very clear signal that we are there for the long term and that Russia cannot wait us out. Greece is heading toward a new general election 2 days after Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis' center-right New Democracy Party won the victory in a national vote but failed to clinch a majority in parliament. A power-sharing deal was put mathematically out of reach Tuesday after the main opposition party formally received and summarily rejected an invitation to try and form the country's next government. Mitsotakis had swiftly ruled out seeking a coalition, opting instead for a second election, expected on June 25, that would introduce a change in the electoral system that favors the winning party and likely hand him an outright victory. The 55-year-old Mitsotakis won just over 40% of the vote Sunday, hammering his main opponent by 20 points. He has promised to continue pro-business reforms, tough policies to combat illegal migration, and high defense spending as Greece recovers from a major financial crisis in the previous decade. Geneva's airport was briefly closed to flights on Tuesday as climate activists stormed a private jet fair on a nearby tarmac by ripping down or scaling fences, handcuffing themselves to landing gear and other material, and scuffling with police and security before being hauled away. City police said about 80 people were detained. The protest involved about 100 activists from 17 countries and groups, including Greenpeace, Scientist Rebellion, Stay Grounded, and Extinction Rebellion, who disrupted the annual European Business Aviation Convention and Exhibition, one of the industry's premier events, which is taking place in Geneva this week. Video images showed yellow-vested protesters pulling down a war fence as police tried to tackle them or douse them with pepper spray while an alarm sounded. Others, arriving by bicycle and wielding ladders, scaled a fence in a separate area with less security to access the tarmac. Some demonstrators were spotted smiling as they took cell phone images of the incursion onto the static displays on the fringes of the Geneva airport. Russia's military said Tuesday it quashed what appeared to be one of the most serious cross-border attacks from Ukraine since the war began, claiming to have killed more than 70 attackers in a battle that lasted around 24 hours. Moscow blamed the raid that began Monday on Ukrainian military saboteurs. Kiev portrayed it as an uprising against the Kremlin by Russian partisans. It was impossible to reconcile the two versions, to say with certainty who was behind the attack or to ascertain its aims. The battle, which took place in southwest Russia's Belgorod region, about 80 kilometers north of the city of Kharkiv, in eastern Ukraine, was a fresh reminder of how Russia itself remains vulnerable to attack. In addition to Russian-occupied regions of Ukraine, the region is a Russian military hub holding fuel and ammunition depots and was included in Russian President Vladimir Putin's order last year to increase the state of readiness for attacks and improve defenses. A London judge rejected Prince Harry's bid to pay for his own police protection Tuesday, denying the royals' request to challenge the UK government in court. The British government stopped providing security after Harry, the younger son of King Charles III, and his wife, the former actress Meghan Markle, quit their royal duties and moved to California in 2020. It then rejected his offer to pay for protection when he visits home. A lawyer for the government argued in court that it was not appropriate to allow hiring police officers as private bodyguards for the wealthy. Justice Martin Chamberlain said there was nothing incoherent or illogical in the government's reasoning to deny the Duke of Sussex's request to hire police bodyguards at his own expense. He said providing private protection for an individual was different from paying police as security at sporting and other events. Further, he said it could strain police resources, set a precedent, and be seen as unfair. Pakistan's former Prime Minister Imran Khan on Tuesday praised his legal battle before a court in the capital, Islamabad, which granted him protection from arrest until early next month in several cases, including terrorism charges for inciting violence. The development comes as authorities have been cracking down on the supporters of Khan, now Pakistan's top opposition leader. Thousands staged violent protests and attacked public property and military installations following Khan's arrest earlier this month. The violence subsided only days later after Khan was released on the orders of the country's Supreme Court. 10 people were killed in clashes with the police. Khan, who was ousted in a no-confidence vote in parliament in April last year, has campaigned against the government of his successor, Prime Minister Shahbaz Sharif, claiming his ouster was illegal and demanding early elections. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi was welcomed by around 20,000 cheering fans, many chanting Modi at a Sydney stadium on Tuesday during his second visit to Australia as his country's leader. Modi shared the stage with Prime Minister Anthony Albanese, who compared the reception by the primarily Indian crowd at Kudos Bank Arena to a concert by US rock star Bruce Springsteen at the same venue. "The last time I saw someone on the stage here was Bruce Springsteen, and he didn't get the welcome that Prime Minister Modi has got," Albanese told the capacity crowd. "Prime Minister Modi is the boss," Albanese added, using Springsteen's nickname. Modi told the audience he expected trade between the two countries will double in the next 5 years. "Our positive cooperation is growing in areas like climate action, disaster management, strategic technologies, reliable supply chain, education, and health security," Modi said. A skywriter had earlier emblazoned the sky over Sydney with the message "Welcome Modi," in an indication of the city's enthusiasm about the 72-year-old Indian leader's visit. The Indian diaspora accounts for only 3% of Australia's population, but is the nation's fastest growing ethnic minority. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,172.27. The NYSE Composite is decreased by 146.58 points or 0.96%. Tokyo stock close price is 30,957.77. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 129.05 points or 0.42%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,246.238. The Shanghai index is decreased by 50.23 points or 1.52%. Hong Kong stock close price is 19,431.25. The Hang Seng index is decreased by 246.92 points or 1.25%. Bombay stock close price is 61,981.79. The Sensex index is increased by 18.11 points or 0.03%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. Seven people accused of racially abusing Real Madrid player Vinicius Jr. have been arrested in Spain, police said Tuesday. 3 were detained in Valencia for alleged abuse against Vinicius in a Spanish league match on Sunday. 4 were arrested in Madrid for allegedly hanging an effigy of the player off a highway bridge in January. The arrest came after an outpouring of support for Vinicius after he said he was abused in Valencia. The case prompted widespread reaction from sports figures and government officials in Spain and worldwide. The nation has been criticized for its lack of action in racism cases in soccer. Brazilian government officials, including President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, had publicly expressed their concerns. Vinicius, who is black, has been subjected to repeated racist taunts since he arrived in Spain 5 years ago, and especially this season after he began celebrating his goals by dancing. The Brazilian has heavily criticized Spanish soccer for not doing more to stop racism. The Buffalo Bills are taking it slowly with safety Damar Hamlin, who is being held back from participating in the team's first few days of voluntary practices some 5 months after having a near-death experience on the field. Coach Sean McDermott said Tuesday, "We are taking it one day at a time and just support Damar in every way possible," McDermott said when asked of Hamlin's status, while noting the player is present at the facility. The coach otherwise did not provide any timetable as to when Hamlin can begin on-field sessions a month after being cleared to resume his NFL career. The 25-year-old Hamlin went into cardiac arrest and had to be resuscitated on the field after making what appeared to be a routine tackle during the first quarter of a game at Cincinnati and being broadcast to a national primetime audience on January 2. Nikola Jokic is a player unlike almost anything the NBA has ever seen, and now he is taking his Denver Nuggets somewhere they have never been. Jokic had 30 points, 14 rebounds and 13 assists, and the Nuggets advanced to the NBA Finals for the first time in team history Monday night, sweeping the Western Conference Finals with a 113-111 victory over the Los Angeles Lakers. Jamal Murray scored 25 points for the top-seeded Nuggets, who overcame LeBron James' 31-point first half and a 15-point halftime deficit with a tenacious finish in Game 4 to earn their first conference title in their 47 NBA seasons. Jokic earned his 8th triple-double of the playoffs by the third quarter, breaking Wilt Chamberlain's 1967 NBA record for triple-doubles in a single postseason. The bulky Serbian center with the point guard's grace also led the Nuggets' gritty defensive effort, despite picking up his fifth foul midway through the fourth quarter. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest update. Millennium TV US and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jadoo TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.